128 people died instantly, but no one ever found all the bodies. The crash site is sealed, the location redacted, and the wreckage quietly removed. They called it a tragic accident, but what if it wasn't? Two planes collided in clear skies. No radar, no warning, and for nearly 70 years, no one has been allowed near the site. What are they trying to keep you from seeing? And why are the documents still classified? The sky over the Grand Canyon was clear. No storms, no interference, just two commercial airliners passing over the red rock walls. And then, nothing. At 10:31 a.m., both planes disappeared from radar. Seconds later, a column of smoke rose from the canyon floor. The collision killed all 128 people on board. But that's where the official story ends, and the cover-up begins. The wreckage wasn't left as a warning or memorial. It was collected, moved, hidden. The site was fenced off and erased from maps. To this day, its exact location remains a government secret. Why? Other crash sites are marked with plaques and monuments, but this one, sealed, redacted, and guarded by silence. Eyewitnesses reported a third object in the sky, one that didn't match either aircraft. Military helicopters arrived within hours, but no official flight records exist. Tourists who snapped photos had their film confiscated. Some images simply vanished. And then there are the bodies. Only fragments were recovered. 29 body parts buried together in 4 plane coffins. The rest were never found. Decades later, the government says it's about respect, but you don't classify respect. You don't erase coordinates to protect dignity. You erase them to hide something. So what really happened that day? And what could be buried so deep in the canyon that they've spent 70 years making sure no one gets close? Stay with me, because this story goes deeper than a crash, and some believe the Grand Canyon is hiding more than just history. The date was June 30th, 1956. A TWA super constellation and a United Airlines DC-7 left Los Angeles just minutes apart. Both carried full loads of passengers, headed east on routine cross-country flights. Back then, there was no radar coverage over the Grand Canyon. Pilots relied on visual navigation, calling in their position by radio, but something went wrong, something no one could explain. At 10:31 a.m., both aircraft vanished. Moments later, smoke rose from the canyon walls. Rangers who responded found twisted metal, shattered fuselage, and body parts scattered across the rocks. The location was so remote, rescuers had to reach it by donkey and rope. What they found wasn't just wreckage. It was unrecognizable carnage. Some bodies were fused with the wreckage. Others were never found at all. This was America's worst aviation disaster at the time, but there was no national memorial, no televised investigation, just silence. Instead, the crash site was sealed. Fences went up. Reports vanished. The public was told it was a tragic accident, but no further questions were welcomed. And here's where it gets strange. Early on, a few witnesses reported seeing a third object in the sky. Not a plane, not a bird, something darker, faster, with no wings. The government ignored these reports, but within hours, military helicopters were spotted in the area. Yet there's no record of those flights in any official log. Photos taken by tourists were confiscated. A few that survived show what appears to be scorched terrain, unlike a standard crash burn. One photo, rarely seen, shows what some claim is debris from an unknown craft, just feet from the commercial wreckage. If this was just an accident, why did the government bury it so deeply? And why does the exact crash location remain classified to this day? Whatever fell from the sky that morning may have been more than 2 airliners. And the deeper you dig, the stranger the canyon becomes. Official reports say the crash was caused by pilot error and limited radar coverage. But several eyewitnesses say they saw something else that morning. A dark, silent craft, stationary, hovering high above the canyon. One local ranger who arrived early at the site claimed he saw debris scattered in a wide pattern, far beyond what a collision should produce. His report was never published. His notes were removed from the National Park Service archive. The military claimed it had no involvement, but a declassified memo from Luke Air Force Base, dated July 3, 1956, references unauthorized aerial activity in the Grand Canyon airspace on the day of the crash. Why would a nearby Air Force base be tracking airspace that was supposedly out of their jurisdiction? Then there's the salvage operation. Most major plane crashes take weeks to clear. This one was swept clean in less than 6 days. No media access, no public photos. And the wreckage was never displayed. Not in museums, not in training centers, nowhere. Even more disturbing, early rescue teams were said to be wearing protective suits, not standard for aviation accidents in the 1950s. What were they trying to avoid? The few photos that exist from the site show something strange. Burn patterns that spread outward from a single point of impact, almost as if something exploded before the planes collided. There's also a note buried in the CAB crash summary. It mentions an unidentified structural anomaly found in one of the impact zones. The description was blacked out. Entire pages were redacted. A geologist working for the Park Service later claimed he saw foreign alloys in the debris. His name was Dr. Peter Hartley. He left the Park Service in 1957 and was never heard from again. To this day, hikers who wander too close to the suspected crash site report strange things. GPS devices stop working. Compasses spin. Some say they feel watched. Others say they were followed out by park rangers who never said a word. So if this was just a crash, why is the land still off limits? And why does everything surrounding it feel less like history and more like a secret no one was meant to uncover? In 2021, a FOIA request unearthed a fragment of a previously unreleased NTSB memo from 1956. It described impact inconsistencies at the crash site. Specifically, damage on one of the planes appeared to be from the outside in, not from a mid-air collision. Experts who reviewed the language said it read more like a missile strike assessment than a crash investigation. But the rest of the document? Redacted. One theory suggests the planes may have collided while trying to avoid something else. Something that moved in front of them suddenly. Something that didn't belong in the sky at all. In 2004, an amateur researcher hiking near the suspected site found a small metallic disc, partially buried in the rock. Independent testing revealed it was made of an unknown titanium composite, not commercial grade, not military grade, and not from the 1950s. He mailed a sample to a private lab. The lab shut down weeks later. The disc? Gone. Then there's the cave system. Less than 6 miles from the impact zone lies an area closed off in 2020 with no warning. It was labeled environmentally sensitive, but no bat colonies were documented there. Just a narrow entrance sealed with concrete and steel. Rumors from former park employees suggest something was found inside that cave. Something old, and something not human. They say the Smithsonian once excavated near that area in the early 1900s. The official report from that dig? Missing. The lead archaeologist disappeared during a second expedition. Some believe the Grand Canyon holds more than just fossils. They believe it hides a network of ancient structures, underground chambers carved with symbols no one can translate. There are whispers that the collision of 1956 wasn't just a tragedy. It was a containment event, a way to cordon off an area that had already been compromised, either by military activity or something beyond it. The planes were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The crash site became a shield, a perfect excuse to close the zone forever, wrapped in tragedy, protected by grief, hidden in plain sight. And if that's true, then we didn't just lose 128 people in the canyon that day. We may have lost the truth. The Grand Canyon is a place of wonder, but hidden deep in its cliffs is a silence that doesn't feel natural. A silence protected by fences, redacted files, and memories too fractured to piece together. They said it was a crash, but 128 souls vanished into the rocks and were not allowed to see where they fell. They said it was about respect, but respect doesn't need classified coordinates, disappearing documents, and decades of sealed cave systems. What if the wreckage wasn't removed to protect the public, but to protect a secret? What if the planes were never supposed to be there? What if they saw something we were never meant to see? Maybe the real story is still buried in the canyon just out of reach. Or maybe it was never about the crash at all. If you've ever hiked near the closed zones, if your compass spun wild, or your GPS went dark, tell us what happened. Drop your theory in the comments. Like and subscribe if you're ready to dig deeper into the secrets they keep hidden in plain sight, because some stories are too dangerous to explain, and some questions were never meant to be answered.